Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New Artist Spotlight podcast. I'm Wilko Wilkes, back in the hot seat.
And I'm Origin Cross. What's up, guys?
Thanks for joining us for another episode. If you've listened before, you'll know that this is where we interview some of the finest emerging artists from around the world, all of whom can be found on the New Artist Spotlight playlists.
And don't forget to check out the website, newartistspotlight.org, where you can find those playlists, plus news, reviews, tips, and just about everything you need as an independent artist on this planet.
That's right. And we've all got smiles on our faces today. And I'll tell you why. It's because we've got today, welcome to the show, Gavan Waldby.
Thanks, guys. Thanks very much. Good evening to you, Wilko. Good afternoon, Origin. And it's good morning from me, from my backyard.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that outside? Is that a real background?
Yeah, no, this is my real backyard. Everybody's getting ready because it's early morning here, so everybody's getting ready for school and getting ready for work. Because this is about the only quiet place I've got in the house.
It's out the house.
In this case, at the back of the house. Yeah,
it looks idyllic, mate. It looks like one of those Zoom backgrounds, you know, the fake ones. And then we've got Origin in complete opposite to you. So in a cupboard, is that right?
I'm in the closet in what's supposed to be my studio.
Yeah, that's good, man. It's dedication.
I can throw on the blurred background, though, if that'll...
No, the world needs to see your closet, man. It's all good. You're sounding crisp.
It's good to meet you today, sir. This is our first time getting to sit down and have a chat with one another. So obviously we know a little bit about you. We've heard your music, but for anybody who isn't familiar, would you like to give us an introduction to yourself?
Yeah, Gavan Waldby from Brisbane, Australia. I've been playing the guitar since I was about 14, I think, or 12 or something like that. That's how everything started for me. And I just evolved from there like most musicians do. You know, I've started out, and this is trying to learn music before the internet existed. We're talking about, you know, when I started my learning curve, you know, buying music books and learning how to read chords and all that sort of stuff. And that evolved into guitar lessons, which evolved into studying more music, to studying music at University of Queensland, playing in solos, playing in bands, playing in a theatre restaurant, evolving into my musical comedy duo, Chalk and Cheese, which I did for 15 years. And in the last probably 5 years, that's kind of all evolved into me deciding I really needed to record my own music because I had things written in my head, but I wasn't really doing anything with it. I'm about to release number 7 next Friday, or today, I should say.
No, it's tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so. This podcast comes out Thursday, I think, but it might be Friday in Australia.
Time zones, I keep forgetting that. Yeah,
what day is it now for you?
It's Monday morning here.
Oh yeah, so it's Sunday afternoon for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is we had to. Yeah, it was a tough one. We had to schedule it in so we could get everyone and not have one of us in the middle of the night.
Yep, I just live in the wrong part of the world. Let's just face it. Yeah. So that, you know, but for me, this recording stuff is kind of, you know, like the pinnacle of everything that I've been doing all my life, really, because it tests me and inspires me in so many different ways. And I'm just completely absorbed in it now. It's great.
That's cool, man. I like it. And you can tell that you're absorbed in it. And I love that it's taken like a long time and now it's coming out. And when I listen to your music, I can hear the joy in it. And I feel like you're one of these guys who's never far from your guitar. It's just you, your guitar. Like some of the, you know, the instrumental track as well. I think it might have been your most recent one. I love that.
You're talking about The Chase?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Love it, man. You can hear the joy in that of the guy who plays guitar. Do you know what I'm saying? Is that like, do you feel at home when you've got your guitar in your hand?
No, absolutely. In fact, it's right here behind me. I do. It's it's just something I absolutely love. And you're right. You use the word joy, and that's exactly the way I view music is that it's a joyful experience. It just has that magic element that you can't find anywhere else. I feel that when I play the guitar, and whether I'm doing an instrumental, because I do instrumental tunes and I also write songs. This next song coming out is my song number 7 is a song. It's not an instrumental. But whether I'm doing an instrumental or a song, it's all joyful. And whether it's my music or somebody else's music, or it's a concert, it's the same thing. It's just too much fun to not do.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's awesome the emotion that music helps bring to a person, whether it's hearing a song and it bringing it out of you, or you being able to take that emotion that's in you and putting it into something and crafting something.
Absolutely. And you got to find that, sometimes that's where you take your inspiration from in terms of, what the emotion is. I mean, this song that I got coming out this time, it took me back to my being a teenager, basically, the writing of it. And funnily enough, I was actually able to tap into those emotions from back in that time to help inspire me to write this song we're talking about today.
Cool. So it seems like you've had a career already in some forms. So you want to talk about some of the highlights and even the lowlights of being a professional musician and everything you've kind of been through so far?
Yeah, sure. Probably the things that are most memorable for me were two things. I had worked in a duo for 15 years. We called ourselves Chalk and Cheese. We called ourselves a musical comedy duo. And Wilko, you'll like this bit. We called ourselves Chalk and Cheese because I'm an Aussie and the other guy was a Pom.
Love it. Whereabouts was he from?
Birmingham, mate. Birmingham.
Right. Okay. Like this, James. More Brummies connected in with the NAS community.
Right. Yeah. So he was an friend of mine, Kevin McLeod. He was an expat Brummie, and we met when I did this gig in a theatre restaurant. We did that for a year, and we started up after that. We went out on our own, and we toured around. We played locally, we played regionally, and we played interstate and stuff like that. Doing music and comedy, because the other guy, Kev, was a very funny man, kind of Billy Connolly type demeanour. And we had a fantastic time telling jokes and putting on a show for people, trying to be entertaining as opposed to just being, doing fancy music type stuff. And we did really well. And we had a lot of fun. A couple of memorable things that happened to us. This one makes me laugh. In fact, we were just talking about it the other night because I had Kevin and his wife Linda over for dinner just a couple of nights ago. So we were doing a bit of reminiscing. We used to play country towns a fair bit. And we had this gig up in a place called Nanango, which is about 4 hours northwest of where I live. And it's a typical country town. Friday night, these people really like to party and they really like to drink. So we're sitting there playing away, doing our thing. People sitting at the bar, people sitting at tables and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, these people start coming up to us and say, "Can you play La Bamba? Can you play La Bamba?" Yeah, we can play. Yeah, come on, play La Bamba. Play it. Hurry up. Like they're basically badgering us to play La Bamba. So, okay, don't know what this means. So, so we did La Bamba. And this guy sitting at the bar, as soon as he hears the song, stands up, walks over to a table, stands up on the table in the middle of the pub, takes all his clothes off and dances. And we're going, what?
Was it a bet?
Hey?
Was it a bet? Was it some sort of?
Well, we didn't know. Like everybody's cheering this bloke on. His nickname was Sticks. They're going, yay, Stixy. And we're sitting there going, what have we gotten ourselves into? As soon as the song's finished, he puts his clothes back on, goes back and sits down at the bar, and everybody goes back about their business. And we're like,
just another day in Australia.
That's a weird day, hopefully, but okay.
Yeah, well, it was like, for everybody else, it was like, this just happens all the time. So, you get used to it. 6 months later, we went, they got us back, exactly the same thing. Play La Bamba. guy sitting at the bar, goes over, stands up on a table, takes all his clothes off, dances. When the song's finished, puts his clothes back on and goes back to the bar. The really funny part is that same guy then bought the local restaurant in Nanango. And then he booked us to come up and play at his local restaurant. So, so we went back there again. We're playing in his restaurant. He's the manager. And, of course, it's exactly the same thing. Play La Bamba, play La Bamba. He stands up on the table, takes all his clothes off, and everybody's going, yay! And I just remember laughing really a lot at that point because they were making so much noise. And this is like midnight in this really quiet country town in the main street. And I'm sitting there thinking, it would be really funny if the police came in right now, with a complaint, because they'd walk in and they'd go, what the hell's going on here? I want to talk to the manager right now. And we would have to say, that's him.
Yeah.
Standing on the table, mate. Good luck. So yeah, things like that used to happen all the time. No, that didn't happen all the time. That only happened occasionally. But when you're doing comedy and stuff like that, people get really extreme, and they come up and tell you jokes, and they come up with all sorts of crazy things. They interfere with your show, they heckle, and a lot of the times it's really fun. Sometimes it's absolutely painful. On the negative side of things, I've actually had 2 people have a heart attack and die in the audience during one of our performances. Not once, but no, it was just bizarre. But it didn't happen once; it actually happened twice, where like people had to stop the show and call an ambulance and all that sort of stuff.
So it went mildly better than like a Travis Scott concert or something like that.
Well, like nobody, it wasn't a crowd crush. I mean, there was only, 100 people or something like that in the crowd. But it actually happened to us on 2 occasions where somebody actually had a heart attack and they subsequently passed away. And, of course, that's my musician friends have never let me forget that. The fact that my music was that bad.
Yeah, it's
we actually killed 2 people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I thought it was supposed to be a good thing to kill the crowd in the entertainment industry.
Well, that's the funny thing. The first time it happened, we drove home, and because we were up the north coast, and got home really late. I crawled into bed with my wife, and she kind of said, "Oh, how did the show go?" And I said, "Yeah, good. Yeah, we killed them." The words just came out of my mouth, like without thinking. So, but that was a long time ago. So yeah, it hasn't happened in a long time, thank heavens. But yeah, that's an example of the things that used to happen to me.
May they rest in peace. So tell us about country towns.
Well, if anybody from Nanango ever hears this podcast, they might know what I'm talking about. I'll probably never find out.
Yeah, no, that's crazy, man. So have you played much as Gavan Waldby? Have you played much to a crowd or anything, or is it most of your experience in chalk and cheese?
I used to do a fair bit of solo work, or just local restaurants and stuff like that. Didn't really. I mean, it was I used to do like James Taylor stuff and things like that. It kind of worked okay. It never really sat very well with me. The other thing I did was while I was doing all that stuff in chalk and cheese, I was also working very hard on learning how to become a reading guitar player, as in terms of sight reading music. Now on the guitar, that's really, really, really hard to do. But I was really keen to do it because I wanted to get playing in big bands and things like that. And I spent years and years, probably 2 or 3 years, I think, just practicing seriously, learning that skill, because it's kind of like doing stuff like that. It's like a 100-meter sprint. It's basically, here's the music you've never seen before, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're in, kind of type of stuff. So you have to be able to process stuff really quickly. So I worked on that for a long time, and it eventually paid off, and I ended up playing in the Alan Brown Big Band, the Brisbane Bundy Rum Big Band, and the Brisbane Jazz Club Big Band, just sitting there reading, playing in a big band and reading charts, which was fantastic because I tell you what, playing in a big band, there's no experience like it when you're playing with an 8-piece or a 6-piece brass section. Man, when those blokes kick in, it's just like, it just, yeah, I can't.
Yeah, man, that sounds
the power.
class.
Oh, the power of the power of brass instruments, you can't. There's nothing like it. And so that was the other thing that I did for quite a long time, doing that sort of work. But yeah, really hard work. And sometimes you'll end up falling flat on your face because it's like, that's too fast, too hard. I can't get it. Yeah, so had a bit of egg on my face on more than one occasion, but still a fantastic experience. So yeah, they were the two biggest things for me. And like I said before, it's now the recording side of things, which I'm completely absorbed by.
Yeah, so like you spent 2 or 3 years reading learning to read sheet music.
I can't remember how to do that at all.
Yeah, if you give me a treble clef piano piece without any chords, I'm your man. As long as you stick within the stave.
Look, I don't know, like the classical musicians that can do that at will. I tip my hat to them.
It's like, gives me a headache just thinking about it.
Look, it's so hard. It is so hard. It's such a refined skill.
So what I was going to ask is, how do you find like your own time management? Because you're clearly a guy who puts a lot of work into your music. Are you just constantly like every evening doing music, or are you struggling to fit in and doing a bit of this, bit of that?
Oh, look, I struggle to fit it all in. I'm still work full time during the day, and so it's just evenings and weekends and stuff like that. You just got to make the time. I'd love to be doing a new song, once a month, but that's just impossible for me. It's just when I've got the time and I've got the inspiration, and I can line all my ducks up in a row. Yeah, it's tricky because being married, and I'm still raising a 16-year-old boy and teaching him how to learn how to drive at the moment and things like that. Finding the time, yeah, you just got to find it. Bits and bobs, and then you got as you guys all know, then you got the social media side of things, which is really time consuming. In fact,
it's a bit frustrating, really, the social media side of things, I think.
Oh, look, I agree 100%. I spend more time doing social media than I do doing music. I mean, it's a necessary evil. But it's like there's no inspiration there from a musician's point of view. It's kind of it's just you got to put in the time doing both. Getting the balance right is really hard. Like I finished recording this song over 2 months ago, but for the last 2 months I've just been doing all the social media things, electronic press kits and all that sort of stuff. And there's no shortcuts with that stuff. You just got to put in the time and the effort doing it. So
say that again.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do wonder sometimes if maybe we get a bit too wrapped up in all that stuff though, and I do it myself. Contact blogs, and obviously you've got to have the artwork and stuff like that. Like with the EPK, you don't necessarily need one unless you want blog coverage. I suppose it's whether you want your music to get heard, and I suppose we're all in New Artist Spotlight because we do. So maybe that's why we kind of take it a bit too seriously. But I suppose I hate it when it gets to the point where music becomes a stressful thing and it's like loads of admin and loads of word processing and all that, when it could be, stripped back and just playing and enjoying it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, in a perfect world, we'd have somebody working for us to deal with all that sort of stuff. But yeah, but I mean that's the metrics, isn't it? I bought a book called "How to Promote Yourself as an Independent Musician." I can't remember the exact name of it, and they talk about the vanity metrics. That's the expression that they use. How many people you got following you on Instagram, and how many people you got following you on Spotify, and how many likes you've had for this and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, the sad reality is we live in a world which is completely obsessed with metrics. In fact,
very true.
In fact,
go ahead,
yeah.
finish.
Sorry, but in fact, I wrote one of my songs. I don't know whether you've listened to my song called "From the Machine." That's what that is about, and I can speak, with some knowledge there because I work in the IT industry, and the IT industry is obsessed with metrics, as is and the music side of things in social media is equally obsessed with metrics, because what computers do really well is measure things and count things, and it's taken over, and there's so many. And what frustrates me about that, and I think you guys would probably feel the same way, is that it takes away so much. Like we're talking about how joyful music is, but there's no metric on joyful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Too right, mate. Yeah,
but
self-satisfaction and stuff like that. There's not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the joyfulness and the self-satisfaction and the fulfillment. Those are the feel-good things. That's what inspires us to do what we do. But nobody even worries about measuring that. Why? Because you can't measure it. So in a way, and in fact, there's a line in that song of mine that I was just talking to. It says, if it hasn't got a metric, it doesn't exist. And, that's truly what I feel. I mean, that's why I wrote that song. And the point is, there's plenty of things that do exist which don't have a metric. And, people, and, particularly the younger generation coming up, that were born with social media, they sometimes don't get that, I don't think.
Yeah, I like that, man. I'm gonna re-listen to that as well now that I kind of know more about what it's about. But I totally agree with what you're saying, man. And to an extent, I feel like the only things that actually matter are the ones that don't have metrics. Those are the only things that really do exist on like a, I don't know, on a something level. Insert clever words here.
That's the humanity of it. My hobby is 4-wheel driving and off-roading, and I'm completely obsessed with a place called Fraser Island, which is again about 4 hours north of here. It's the biggest sand island in the world, and I take my 4-wheel drive up there. And you can drive on the beach there for half a day. It's so big. It's a huge island, and at low tide, the beach is probably 100 meters wide. And you hop in your car, and you're blue sky, blue sea, white sand dunes everywhere, and you're cruising along that beach, and I just zone out. I go somewhere else, and I don't even know where it is, but it's just the environment that you're in, and it's an addictive thing. I go back there, twice a year because it's so much fun. But once again, how do you measure that? You don't measure it. You just enjoy it, and there's no metric on that one, but it's so much fun.
I think there's some truth to it, and maybe it's still not 100% concrete, just because I think there's some things that metrics can be used for that are real, like number of friends you have, right? Like there may not be a metric for how good of a friend can be, but how many real friends you have, because you don't get many real genuine friends in life, right? Like certain things like that, I feel like a metric works for.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. If you've got five people you can call your close friends, I think you're doing well. No, I take your point.
It's a thought, something to chew on, I guess. So you talked about all these experiences you have performing, and you talked about the hecklers and sometimes you get egg in your face just trying to read and keep up with sheet music in real time with everything going on. Are there any other stories besides the guy who would get up and take his clothes off just with things kind of going bad in front of an audience of people, or the audience? Just any crazy stories like that just stick out in your head?
I probably told you the ones that I remember the most. I did have probably the other one that comes to mind. Again, I was playing in a big band situation, and actually I was talking about the song before was La Bamba, and which is in the key of C, the original version, and it's got that really funky little guitar introduction. And in the key of C, that's, it's quite playable. It's not that hard once you've learned how to do it. So anyway, I'm doing this gig, and this was, I hadn't seen any of these charts before, and we're just going from song to song. Anyway, up pops the Bamba, but it's not in the key of C, it's in the key of B flat. And it's like, oh my God. Now, if you're not easy to play in the key of C, in the key of B flat, I probably would have needed half an hour to work on that to get that right. So, drummer goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, look, the guitar is not a symmetrical instrument. In a certain key, things can be really easy to play. Put it in a different key, and it's like completely different. I
was amazed to learn it in a different key. Half an hour's pretty good, mate.
Short amount of time to be able to kind of just figure something out like that.
Well, yeah, but hey, anyway, so the drummer can't just, I've only had this thing in front of me for like 30 seconds, and I'm processing it, then panicking because I knew I wasn't going to get it. And the drummer goes 1, 2, 3, 4. At which point I'm supposed to go ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-da-dum-dum, and instead it was just and exposed, like it's solo guitar introduction type stuff, completely exposed. You're not hiding behind any other. And I just wanted to crawl under a rock and die. And I felt like saying, but it's in B flat. Nobody can do that. But of course, there was no point saying it because they're all brass players, and they get people that play brass instruments. They play in B flat, A flat, D flat, and all the time because it suits their instrument. Doesn't suit the guitar. And times like that, you just want to go, I'm going to go back to my day job now.
I can imagine, man. Like the word you used was exposed. That's so true, man. I can feel that moment. What I would have done in that situation is just started playing in C anyway, and then when they start in B flat, go, "What are you doing, guys?"
Yeah, you were the solo. You started off, so I mean, they technically needed to adjust.
Well, what I did learn in doing all that is that because you'd be talking to the band later, they'd ring you up and book you for the gig and that sort of stuff. Whenever a brass player said, "Oh, the charts are pretty easy, you'll be fine," I knew they didn't know what they were talking about because they were brass players, not guitar players. So yeah, that was my most embarrassing moment. I think I try not to remember that one.
No, that's good though, mate. Did you ever have you always had continuous gigs, or did you ever get to a point where you weren't getting any work? Or
well, no, that's a really good question. With Chalk and Cheese, we did 15 years doing all, and we did quite well. We were quite successful because the accent was on trying to be entertaining. We got paid pretty well as well, but the whole market changed for reasons we never really understood, and the gigs just started drying up. And we were getting less and less work, and the work that we were getting wasn't real good, and we were taking gigs which we probably shouldn't have taken. You guys probably have been in the same position where somebody might ring up and offer you a gig, and you're going, "Is this for me, or do I want to do that? Is it the right demographic for me, or is it the right audience for me? Are they going to like what I do? Are they not going to like what I do?" And we ended up doing gigs like that, taking gigs we shouldn't have taken, but we needed the money. And it just got slowly worse. And we got to the point where we pretty much went, I think it's time to pull the pin, because we got to a point where we're actually starting to clash with the audience, and we're starting to lose our cool. And when you're at that point, you've lost your concentration, and you got to stop and pull back and reconsider everything. And we then sat back and waited for the good quality work, and it just didn't come. So yeah, that's when I went back to school and got a diploma in IT and got a day job. And that was a really difficult time because I actually stopped playing. I actually felt quite kind of heartbroken about the whole thing, and I actually stopped playing. I didn't touch my guitar for 9 months because it was all too much in a way. And I look back at that now and I go, how did I do that? How did I not play the guitar for 9 months? But that was just my state of mind at the time. So yeah, but then it eventually turned around, and a couple of years ago, I was really back into it, and that's when I went. I really should start recording some of this stuff because I thought it was worth recording, but writing your own stuff and recording your own stuff is a big learning curve. So yeah, I started with a couple of instrumentals, and then the songs started to come, the lyrics started to come, and here we are today.
I'm glad you picked yourself back up after the cheese had melted.
Very good work, very good.
Yeah, I gotta give you that one.
It's a good story, though, mate. I like that. I like the I like hearing about the downs sometimes as well. Do you know what I mean about that? It must have been a mad situation to go through when you've been doing something for so long, and then suddenly, especially with comedy, it's quite pressured when you're up on stage, isn't it? If you start losing your cool and it seems like everything's going downhill, I can see why at the end of it you've got that sort of grieving, really, and like, what's next? Like, is there anything after this?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And we used to, because we had so many successful gigs, we had so many great nights, and again, that joyfulness and the fun and the laughter and then doing dance music at the end of the night and all that sort of stuff. You come home buzzing. There's nothing like doing a great gig, and you'd be buzzing for the next couple of days sometimes, and you just want more and more and more and more and more and more, and that slowly kind of decreased, as the gigs dried up, and you kind of, it is a bit of a grieving process because it's very addictive. Whether you've written a really good song in the studio and you're listening back to it going, oh man, I love that, I'm so happy with that, and you get a little buzz out of that, or whether it's a buzz from having done a fantastic gig, it's those endorphins, you get that endorphin buzz going in your brain, and it's a natural high, and it is addictive, and if you stop getting it, you start to miss it quite a lot.
Yeah, I've been through times too where it's like finishing up college, there was a period where I didn't work on music for like a year or something. It was like the entire time I lived in the apartment I was living in, I hadn't recorded anything. And when I looked at it, and it wasn't even intentional, I stopped for a reason. It was just that life had got so hectic that I didn't have time to really touch music. And when I thought about it and I realized that it was kind of like similar to like how you said it's like a grieving process. It's like, wait a minute, like this is the thing that I love and I haven't given it any time or attention in like a year. You said 9 months. It's kind of like you didn't even realize you were living without something that you can't live without.
Yeah, no, look, I think what you're talking about is the inspirational part of writing. Sometimes the inspiration's there and sometimes it isn't, and sometimes you might go without it for a month, 2 months, 6 months before it. But if you have that in your brain, I think it always comes back. Trying to force it really doesn't work most of the time. It doesn't work for me anyway. I know that.
No, it's difficult, and I like what you said, Gavin, about just kind of being in the studio and getting that joy when you write a good line, or when you do something like that you buzz off of your own stuff, even when there's no audience, there's nobody around to see it. Like it's a sacred thing, really. Like you can just get lost in it. You can find hours just go like that because you're so engrossed in what you're doing, and there's no thrill like it. Yeah, like you say, it is addictive, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. If I again talk about my new song, Why Don't You Care About Me, the middle section I really struggled with the middle section of the song. I could not come up with anything for like weeks. Everything, I had ideas and they all went nowhere. But I finally came up with an idea for the middle section. And now I think it's my favourite part of the whole tune. Yet it was actually the hardest part to write. I went over it and over it and over it and over it and over it, like the phrasing and the lyrics and the melody and stuff, like so many times trying to get it, because I could hear it in my head, but I couldn't get it. It wasn't coming out. But I finally, just through repetition, finally nailed it. And when I listen back to it now, it's like, hey, I'm so glad I worked on that, because I'm so proud of that bit.
Sometimes the delay that we experience, I feel like, is intentional, because it's like that thing that we've been waiting for is coming. It just hasn't hit us yet, and we think that we're stuck, but in my mind, we're really just waiting.
Yeah, and look, I think, you know, you might have an idea for a song, which is half formed, and you might get half of it down, and you don't really like it, but there might be one line that you really like, and then you take that one line and you actually build on that one line. So you might end up going down a tangent which you hadn't intended to start, which you didn't intend to start with, but that's part of the fun. Is kind of, you know, for me, it's tapping into that one little thing which leads to another little thing which leads to another little thing, and then you start to, you know, hopefully you can put it all together in a kind of cohesive way, and the next thing you know, you've actually got something really good to work on. So
yeah, it's like when people do, you know, like 2,000-piece jigsaw puzzles, and then they frame it and put it on the wall. But that's like us, but we put it on Spotify. But I love
that's exactly.
It is like putting a puzzle together, isn't it? And then you get so.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, Wilko, your new song, the ABCD. Man, those lyrics! I'm sitting there listening to that, going, "What's he going to do when he gets? What's he going to do when he gets to the really hard letters? What's he going to do with X? What's he going to do with Z?"
Filler line at the end, because X is for xylophone. That was a shortcut, man. That was a shortcut.
No, but it's it was a shortcut, but it's a very well executed shortcut. No, like, I don't know, you guys and you guys and your genre with your lyrics, I don't know how anybody does that. Let alone
use Xerox.
Origin, right? You come back to me with a full sentence with words beginning with X that makes sense around a mental health theme. And I think it's some sort of medal.
listen here. First of all, I never took on this challenge. I'm smart. Okay?
Yeah. Believe me, I
can do alliteration rap all day, or alliteration assonance. I can do it.
I know you can do that, man.
Why am I gonna jump on X of all letters on purpose? Like, why would I set myself up for that?
Yeah,
that's what a dictionary is for, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or the internet we've got these days, Gavin. I know we started.
Oh yeah,
I would just about have to use a dictionary to craft that verse. Now I'm almost tempted to try it because you challenged me on such
I'll send you the
large
beat if you want.
Public platform like this, but I'm going to fight my pride and we're going to focus on Gavin.
Gavin, hey, good to see you there, mate.
Yeah, you remember me, you know, sitting here in my backyard. No, but I was trying to say before, you guys with your lyrics, I mean, you know, I tip my hat, because like the lyric content of what you guys do is just crazy, let alone remembering it all and getting it all right. God, I don't know how you do it.
Well, thank you, but I remember nothing.
Yeah, thanks, mate. And I try to remember it all. I really want to be a proper live rapper. So you've got. I put a lot of time into practicing, and I've got to keep on it. Otherwise, if I don't practice for a few weeks, I start missing words out and getting it wrong. It must be the same for you when you do pretty complex stuff on guitar, and you've got so much like breadth of work that you've done as well. Do you put a lot of time into practicing your own songs? And
I do. The way I work these days is I don't record in my own studio. I'm just set up for demos. I don't have the gear to do the whole thing myself. But I'll do the demo at home, and I'll kind of craft it up and you know, get the different tracks and the arrangements, a basic arrangement work out. And then when I go to my studio, I use a guy named Crxss here in Brisbane. He's got a fantastic studio. Seriously, you walk in there and it's like walking into the deck of the Starship Enterprise, man. It's like he's got so much gear, it's so much hardware, it's just crazy. And he gets a fantastic sound. You know, 10 times better than I'd ever do myself at home. So I use him for all my stuff. But what I do is I'll book a 3-hour session, and I'll be ready. I'll have everything practiced. I'll have all the guitar parts worked out, and I'll be warmed up, ready to go. So I normally get everything. Guitar-wise, I normally 1 or 2 takes. Normally, sometimes 3. Except for the chase. The chase took a bit longer because it was really hard to play. Normally I get that pretty good. The vocals take a lot longer because I'm a pretty I'm not as good at singing as I am on the guitar. But you got to be prepared and ready when you're going to record. You don't want to be sitting there redoing something for the 17th time, because at that point you've lost it. The spirit's gone, your energy's gone, and you're getting frustrated. So, yeah, preparation is everything from my point of view.
I agree with that, mate. That's good advice. And it's annoying for the people in the studio as well, and people turn up and they don't know their own stuff. And you're wasting everyone's sort of time and money, aren't you? You're letting yourself down by not doing enough practice, I think. But yeah, obviously you don't do that because the quality of your tracks is proof.
Well, thank you.
See, that's why I like recording like at home in my own setup and then just sending it out to get mixed and mastered, because for me, I'm gonna mess up. Like, it doesn't matter how many times I practice, even just because the way I've started recording has even changed to where it was, I would write everything and then I would record, and then sometimes it evolves, or it just depends on the song, where sometimes I might write and record, and sometimes it's the delivery. As artists and stuff, it's so many different ways we can deliver a line to get a certain impact that we want somebody to get from it, to say it a certain type of way so that we can lead into the next line. And so the way we hear it in our heads versus what our mouths is actually going to produce doesn't always line up. So, we have to workshop it, and I like being able to workshop it kind of at my own pace and getting things exactly how I want it to, even though you kind of lack that extra ear to help you kind of do what you're trying to do at the same time. So it's kind of like a pro and a con, depending on the type of artist you are and your skill set.
Yeah, no, I agree. And sometimes you'll be in the studio recording, and you'll get another idea there and then. My engineer might suggest something, and it's like, hey, yeah, let's run with that and see what happens. And sometimes those last minute ideas can be really, really good too, and they can add a lot of value. But I take what you say, Origin, about, if you're working at home, you're relaxed. If you don't get it right, you can do it again. You have to be relaxed to produce, good quality stuff. I think the team of people that I work with, we know each other so well. We're just really relaxed all the time. It's really easygoing. And I'm the one paying the bills. So the only person that's going to get stressed out is me if it all turns to crap. But if you've got good people you can work with and you trust and you know each other, whether you're working at home or working in a studio somewhere else, I think that makes a lot of difference. And you've got to find the right people. My first couple of recordings, I was in a different studio, and it wasn't the same as where I am now. Like where I go now, it's like it's just hanging out with the family. Really, it's really fun.
Okay, that's awesome, man. And so speaking of working with good people, leads us right into talking a little bit about the New Artist Spotlight community, like your experience of it, and sort of how you feel. I don't know, man. Andres, just make that into some sort of
dude. You had
question.
The most perfect transition into that question.
I know, yeah. Oh,
you had to do is finish.
It threw me off, man. I know, yeah. That's it, yeah. I've got about
I cracked a smile and everything here, and you set that up. I was like, man, this guy's good.
Damn it.
How about I talk about how I got involved in NAS?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. You can leave that all in, Andres. That was quite funny.
Great idea.
No, I was via SubmitHub. I saw one of Ed Eagle's posts in there, and I'd seen plenty of those before, and gotten involved, and they didn't really eventuate into anything that didn't last, anything more than a couple of weeks. So I looked at Ed's thing and went, oh yeah, this guy looks pretty serious, so I joined up, and very glad that I did, because it's evolved. I mean, that's why I'm here now, really, when you think about it. But it was about, what is it, November now? It would have been, so a bit over a year ago. It might have been October last year or something like that I got involved. And it's just taken off, as you guys know. And I really like the whole community spirit. It's really, well, what's the metric on that? What's the metric on that? I don't know, and I don't care. It's a really good community of musicians, and everybody does genuinely help everybody out, and and they support each other, and it's a lot of fun, because you're talking and engaging with other musicians, and you've immediately got that kinship that musicians have and performers have for each other, and then you've got your streaming on top of that, and your numbers and all that sort of stuff, which always helps. I'd like to think that in 10 years' time, we'll be looking back, I remember when we were just starting out and we all joined NAS, and, we just had our first couple of recordings and all that sort of stuff. And at least 50 of us will be world famous by then. I have no doubt about it.
10 years, 50 people, I think we can make that happen.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit optimistic to me, but...
Well, you read about when the Beatles versus the Rolling Stones, when they were in the 60s and the 70s, and they were starting out in London, they used to hang out with each other all the time, in America,
anything's possible.
Yeah, well, that's exactly. But it would have been similar to them back in the, what they were doing, and when they just started out, even though it was on a much grander scale, it wouldn't have been dissimilar to what we're doing now. If you look at, the American artists that I admire, like, James Taylor, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Neil Young and people like that, they all knew each other. Linda Ronstadt, they used to hang out together all the time and do jam sessions all the time. And look what happened to them. So it wouldn't have been any different to what we're doing now, except it was without all the electronic stuff. That's what I think.
I agree with you, but I think what we need, maybe a key bit that we're missing, is like some sort of billionaire record label to fund us all. Because
listen, Valid Records, LLC, it needs artists. I need people to sign. I need people to, help grow the label and the art.
Are you opening a record label?
I own a record label.
Oh, really?
How big
receiving a letter from you?
How big's your checkbook, Origin? That's the important question.
No, it's not. I don't think that's the important question at all. I think the important question is what do I have to offer an artist that signs to me? And I think it's the belief in the artist and the how much work I'm willing to put in behind that artist and their product. Not so much as how much can I afford to at this particular time, because as we all grow together, we'll all be able to do more for each other together.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you.
Good answer.
But I do think, I do sometimes think, though, this is my cynicism about the music business, that a lot of the people aren't really, it's a small group of people who can really push artists into the mainstream. So you end up with all the top artists know each other anyway, because they're always at the same events together. They've got the same managers. They've got the same closed off kind of, Sony and Universal and BMG and all these have got like their stables. And then they're all just moving in the same circles, and it's very tough for sort of anyone outside of that to get in. But that's why I think NAS is really good, because it gives people who are completely on the periphery, might not have any fan base, might not even sort of be able to play live or anything like that. It might be early stages, and yet they've still got a chance to have a platform to be heard by hundreds of people, thousands of people, to be on these playlists, to meet people through things like this. And I think you're right. If there is anyone kind of going to break into the mainstream, NAS will give them a massive boost to do that.
Absolutely. I've gotten, I think, because my numbers have improved a lot, I've got people do pay attention to that, even though I've been sitting here for the last 45 minutes bagging metrics that they're not important. People do pay attention to your numbers. You can sense it in the way they respond to you. It's kind of the hypnosis. It's a bit of a I think of it as a bit of a hypnosis thing. It's like, oh, that guy's got 150,000 plays. That must be a really good song. And then like they subconsciously have already accepted that it's a really good song because they've seen the numbers. And it does affect the way people view you, whether it's, regardless of whether it's justified or not. People do pay attention to it.
Absolutely. I feel like even though the metrics shouldn't be as important as they are in the society that we actually do live in, the better your metrics, the more people are going to choose to take you seriously. Even in my own little tangent here, I guess, when I was releasing my last project, Faith Over Fear, and I just moved to San Antonio, and I'm, got to take those opportunities to sell myself to the people I'm just meeting. I told a guy I was putting out a project and, go check it out or check my music out. And a few days later, he comes back and he says, I got some friends that put out music too, and all their songs, he's like, I left, I went to go check you out, and all their songs say less than 1,000, less than 1,000, less than 1,000, but you really got some like numbers, like you got 20, 30, 40, 50,000 streams on songs. And he's like, yeah, you're legit. And I'm like, who's to say your friends that only have less than 1,000 aren't legit? It's just that mine looks better because I have more streams, but you can't judge the quality of artists based off that. But that's just the perception of it,
Yeah, you're right, and that's the exact word. It's all about perception. Because I've heard some fantastic artists and some fantastic songs within NAS and outside of NAS too, just stuff I've come across myself, and like really top quality songwriting, playing, singing, and you look at the tune and like, yeah, not even 1,000 streams, or they've got 20 followers or something like that, and your heart kind of goes out to them because these are really talented people. But sometimes it seems like you're just a shout in the void when you're releasing a song if you haven't got all the other things going for you. Trying to get people to listen is really hard, and those metrics can be really brutal when you're sitting there with that less than 1,000 number sitting there on top of your song. You just kind of feel, you feel bad about it. You can't not feel that way, I think.
Yeah, we're all trapped in the system, aren't we? But I do feel better about having now my Spotify is on about 2,500 monthly listeners, and it's gone from that. It's gone from about 600 to 2,500 within a few weeks, basically, just because of one of the playlists that I got put on, and it does make you feel better, and it feels to me like it's more credible if I'm looking for gigs, if I'm sending people stuff, and they can see that. It's like, but yeah, the music hasn't changed. Nothing's. But as well, I think it's a bit like in school, like you learn a load of stuff that isn't useful, but really it's not about whether you can learn algebra. It's about whether you can do the discipline and take the exams and get the results and put the work in. And I feel a little bit like that with streaming services. There's no reason that because things like NAS do exist, if we're here, we're loud about it. You can find us. You can come and be a part of us and get more streams, but also make connections and take that kind of journey from being a minus 1,000 artist with 2 monthly listeners to being a 10,000, 20,000 stream artist with 500-600 monthly listeners. And there's no real. I don't want to sound harsh or anything, but it's like there's no excuse for kind of being stuck on 2 monthly listeners, because there are playlists out there and you can do the work to get there. And it's like, maybe if somebody, I don't know, it just doesn't look good, does it? Like, even if you like the best artist in the world, it doesn't look great if you've got 2 monthly listeners.
No, that's exactly right. But you know, it is a brutal business. That's the reality of it, because I've been involved in it for a long time now, and it's never not been brutal in one way or another.
I feel like a lot of us, we make this music because it's for us. It's what we enjoy. It's how we express ourselves and everything like that. But we want more and more people to listen to us and more people to like our music, because we're making this thing that we're proud of, and we want it to be experienced by as much of the world as we can have it experienced by. Like, we're sharing us, and we want to share us with as many and as much people and places and whatever there is that we can. Like, we want fans, and it's not just greed, or it's not just, just to be able to brag about it. It's just like, we want to be able to touch and influence.
There's an urge to connect, yeah. And also, I want more cool opportunities from this. I want the opportunity to play good gigs and to meet more people and to keep doing this thing that, is an absolute roller coaster ride at times. But, if you love roller coasters.
The bizarre thing about, doesn't matter whether you're a musician or a comedian, I suppose, is that we all crave the validation of strangers, because we all, our family and our friends go, oh yeah, love your new song, love that guitar part and all that sort of stuff, because that's what your friends and your family do, and that's what they say. And and you always appreciate those kind words. But what you actually crave is people who don't know you at all to really like what you do. And that's unusual. That's that's not the normal state of things for many people's lives. But that's what we want. We want those hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people to love what we do, because this is an expression of ourselves. This is us expressing who we are. But the part of the equation is that you want somebody else to listen to it, and you want somebody else to like it. I mean, what I want to do. I mean, I use the expression "light up the room." I'd like to think that my music helps light up the room for somebody. That's what I would hope would happen. But if you can get people who don't know you to react that way, then it's like, I've done a good job.
Absolutely. So we want you to light up the room with the story behind Why Don't You Care About Me. Tell us about that track and why that's the one that's going to light up the room next.
Good question. Well, hopefully it will resonate with a lot of people, because what the song is about, I think everybody's been through. The way it evolved was the last song that I released, I was talking about before, From the Machine, and I was talking about the song about metrics. That was very heavy social commentary in that song. So I didn't want to do anything like that again. I just wanted to write something kind of a bit more straightforward and a bit more, and the word innocent kept coming into my head. And I just wanted to write something that was a fairly simple theme and fairly innocent. And when I started thinking about innocent, I started thinking about the early Beatles songs. Like, I want to hold your hand, and, she loves you. Yeah. And all that sort of stuff. And like, they were such great songs and so catchy and such great groove, and they performed so well. But the actual theme, like boy likes girl, or, boy's missing girl, or girl likes boy, stuff like that. It was just such a straightforward, simple theme but it resonated with everybody. So many people. So that was kind of became the inspiration. The song is about that. It's about I came up with the chorus, which is why don't you care about me? And it became a song about I kind of channeled my inner teenager. I think I actually said that earlier. I went back to when I started working on the idea of the song. I actually went back to the point where, I remember being 18 or 19 or 20 or whatever, and you're attracted to a girl, but she didn't feel the same way. And, you felt really silly because it was unrequited. Or, somebody's attracted to you and you're not attracted to them. And I'm pretty sure pretty much everybody I know has been through that. And it's a really awkward time, particularly if you're, You know, I mean, it happens to you when you're 15, or whether it happens to you when you're 20 or 25 or whatever. It's a really awkward experience to have fancy somebody but not have it. Not that they don't feel the same way. So that's really what the song's about. So yeah, I was channeling my inner teenager, much to my surprise.
I like it, man. It's always best when it comes from the heart. So
Absolutely.
Should we give it a listen? Do you want to introduce it?
Sure. This is my new song, and it's called "Why Don't You Care About Me."
What may never happen at all, what may never be. Why don't you care about me? You're as pretty as a picture of a moonlight night. My heart skips a beat when you come into sight. You take away my breath every time you smile. Can I win your heart if I walk 50 miles? Why don't you care about me? Why don't you care about me? Eight days a week is a number of times the memory of you is locked in my mind. I can't let you go, it's like waiting for rain. A week, a month, a year, can I stay till you change? Why don't you care about me? Why don't you care about me? You can call me a dreamer, a believer, a deceiver. You can walk to the other side of my street. Maybe I am truly, really crazy, celebrating what may never happen at all, what may never be. Why don't you care about me? You're as pretty as a picture of a moonlight night. My heart skips a beat when you come into sight. You take away my breath every time you smile. Can I win your heart if I walk 50 miles? Why don't you care about me? Why don't you care about me? Why don't you care about me? Why don't you care about me?
Oh, brilliant, mate. Thank you for letting us play that track. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, amazing, man. I'm sure it'll go far.
Well, thank you. I think it's my best work so far. I'd like to think it is. So hopefully everybody else will think the same thing.
Nice, mate. And have you submitted the song through SubmitHub, anything like that?
Have I what? That's another funny story. So yeah, I've been through quite a few SubmitHub submissions, and I've actually got one here I want to read out to you. Because I'm guessing you guys have been through the SubmitHub experience.
Guy's got a world at his fingertips. He's got it all. Here's one I made earlier.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've really got to. This is just beyond bizarre, because when you go through SubmitHub, they'll either accept it, and they'll put it on their playlist, or they will decline it. And I pay the extra couple of dollars so I get feedback as well. Anyway, so look, I sent I must have gone through 15 or 20, I think, in the end. But this is I wanted to read. I won't say who it's from, but this is what they wrote about the song. Why Don't You Care About Me is an emotional listen featuring a strong lead vocal delivery that sits with a heartfelt precision. Amidst the rolling guitar waves, creative percussion, backbone pulse, lush backing vocals, punchy live kit drumming grooves, introspective yet romantic lyrics, thumping bass line low end, a quick flowing arrangement, and a clean mix master. Audibly well crafted. Props are due. I don't know what props. I think props are due means congratulations or something like that. So that's a pretty good review, or a pretty good comment.
Very good review, mate. It sounds like good all round.
Yeah, I reckon that would have taken 10 minutes to write that, or a couple of listens of the song. So I'm reading that, and they have a guess. Do you reckon that was accepted or declined?
I mean, I would assume it would be accepted, but the fact that it was even... I don't know, do you get feedback when you get accepted? Or do they just kind of accept it and they like it? So that's kind of why I'm wondering.
They declined it. They declined it. And I'm sitting there, and the email come through, and I'm reading the review, and I went, wow, cool. And then I looked up the top, and it says declined. And I'm going, what? So, so that's, to this day, have no idea why anybody would write, such nice things and then turn around and decline the song. It's just, but I mean, like we said before, the music industry can be pretty brutal. So, but that one's just did my head in at the time. I'm just sitting there going, what does that mean? Why would they write such nice things and then turn around and decline the song and not even say why they declined it?
Right. And you said, who said this again?
Was it a playlist called Hip Hop Hits from Bosnia or something like that?
No, I have to be diplomatic. I'm not gonna name the person, but that's just you gotta admit. I mean, from your end, does that sound weird? Is that weird or is that weird?
Absolutely berserk, I would say.
You know what though? There's people who hate the Beatles.
Decline.
Sorry, what was that, Wilko?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt either. There's people who hate the Beatles. You can't account for tastes. Like one man's amazing thing is another man's terrible thing. I'm really not doing very well on the vocabulary tonight, but you're right. It's all subjective. It's all subjective. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you, because that just that was probably about 3 weeks ago I got that, and it's done my head in ever since. But it makes a good story, what if nothing else. Well, it kind of goes back to your relationship thing. It's like you're a great guy, you're very handsome, you're an amazing fellow, we have a great laugh, but it's not interested. Thanks.
Look, that's exactly right. Yeah. When you get rejected, they do it in a really nice way. No, that's actually quite true. In fact, the other funny thought that came to my mind was the timing of Ed Eagle's latest song and this one of mine, because Ed Eagle just released Bye, which is like end of relationship, out the door, and here's me 2 weeks later coming out with Why Don't You Care About Me?
It's all the stages of grief.
Is there a coincidence there, or is it planned? You be the judge.
The NAS team is in cahoots. There's a larger plan at work here.
Yep, it's all part of our conspiracy to take over the world.
Can we be a part of that too? We want to take over the world.
Absolutely, that's what NAS is all about.
We only charge. Wilko charges £1 million for his involvement in any world domination schemes. My price is a little bit more flexible, but I'm open.
No,
I don't know.
it's important that you value yourself. I think so. That's good.
Yeah, it's 1 million for a collab. I might have to say 5 to 10 million for world domination services.
A worthy figure.
On the beach, Gavin, so you must have it as pocket change. Like,
No, I don't live on the beach. I go to the beach. I drive to the beach, but I don't live on the beach. This is just your average suburban Brizzo backyard.
very nice, mate.
So for this new track, there's a story behind the Hamilton desk that the song was mixed and mastered on.
Oh yeah. Thanks for reminding me. I forgot all about that. Yeah, this the studio that I use, which is owned by a guy named Crxss, called Crxss Studio. This song was mixed and mastered on this desk. In fact, I'm going to try and show you a photograph. So can you see that?
Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that desk. So that's the Hamilton desk that my new song was mixed and mastered on. It's an analog desk. That was the desk that was used for the onstage mix for the 1985 Band-Aid concert at Wembley Stadium, where Queen, David Bowie, Dire Straits, to name but a few.
U2.
Did that amazing U2. That's it. I couldn't think of the other one. That was the desk used for the onstage mix for that concert. And for those of you that don't remember that concert, I remember watching it. It was absolutely mind-blowing. That was in the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, the Queen movie. That was the concert that they replicated at the end of the movie. That Live Aid concert from Wembley Stadium. That's the desk that was the Live Aid, the onstage mix desk. And my engineer, Crxss, bought it, and it's sitting there in his studio. So I'm actually, with 6 degrees of separation, linked to Queen and Bowie and U2 and Dire Straits and everybody else that performed, because we actually all sung and played through that desk.
That's great, man. We'll have to start calling you Gavin Mercury.
Oh, mate,
if I analog desk.
It's an analog desk, yeah. And it really added a quality to the song, to the mix and master, which, when I listened to that compared to my other stuff, which were done digitally, it really added something extra to it, I think. Amazing bit of history there, and I get to be part of it.
That's amazing, man. And so you mentioned those great bands. Like, are they some of your favourite bands, or who's like your main influences, and who were your favourite bands growing up?
Well, from that concert, who doesn't like Queen? Dire Straits, yeah. Mark Knopfler's such a fantastic guitar player. I've always been a huge fan of his. I still remember when Sultans of Swing came out, their first song. I went, my God, who is that guitar player? He is phenomenal. But the biggest influence for me would be the Beatles and Paul McCartney. I admire that man. I don't have the right words to explain how much I admire that guy. His body of work is just unsurpassed. And interestingly enough, he's left-handed, and as am I. I'm left. Even though I play guitar right-handed, I'm actually left-handed. So there, I've got something in common with him as being left-handed as well, which I think actually helps, because if you're left-handed, means you're right brain dominant, and that's your creative side. And I think that's why I ended up being a musician, actually, is because I was born that way.
So have you ever seen Paul play live?
Yes, he came to Brisbane about 3 years ago. When I heard it announced, I just about fell out of my chair, because I never thought I'd get to. In fact, when I actually saw it announced on YouTube, and I thought it was like, it must have been an old recording from 15 years ago or something, that I was getting it wrong, but he was actually announcing an Australian tour. And I just was stunned, firstly, and then I said to my wife, I said, we're going to Paul McCartney. I'm getting the best tickets we can get, because I knew this would be the last time we would ever get to see him. So yeah, we went and saw him, and it was the ultimate. But that was the number one on my bucket list, was to see Paul McCartney live, and he came to my hometown, and we got to see him, and it was just brilliant. I don't have the words to describe it. It was just such a vibe. He did so many of his fantastic songs. He did "Hey Jude," and everybody sang the na 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 bit. The 40,000 people just going off. So yeah, fantastic. Once in a lifetime experience.
That's the dream, isn't it? Being Paul McCartney at that moment.
Well, look, it's funny. This sounds, but it sounds funny. But I think I know him, and I can't explain. I've never met him, and I never will meet him. I'll never even talk to him. But I think, and this is a funny thing about musicians, I think we know each other because of that kinship, because of the same sort of spirit. When I see him interviewed and when I hear him talking, I kind of I know why he's saying that, or I know why he has that position on things, or why he wrote that song, or why he was thinking that. It just resonates with me so much. It sounds really weird, but I feel like I know him.
No, I get that. And I hear what you're saying. My first name is Paul, and I was actually named after Paul McCartney.
Oh, really?
That's what my dad claims. Oh. That's what my dad claims anyway. My mum, she's not so convinced, but I think he convinced her to use the name Paul without actually telling her sort of what was happening until it was too late and the birth certificate be signed. But he's only sort of 70 miles away from me as our Macca. Big pals, me and him, always knocking around, playing some pool.
Is your middle name McCartney?
Can you tell him Gavin said hello, will you?
Yeah, I'll send him a message later. Yeah, no problem.
Is he really that close to where you live?
To be honest, I've no idea, mate. I mean, I'm only 70 miles-ish away from Liverpool, but that's actually, in the UK terms, that's not that close.
Yeah, 70k is a long way when you live in England, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably about 5 different regional accents between me and Liverpool.
Yeah. Bizarre. So if your first name is Paul, where does Wilko come from?
My last name is Wilkes. Yeah, my last name is Wilkes. Okay. So everyone calls me Wilko anyway. The only people who call me Paul are my parents, people at work, and Nathaniel Hardy Jr.
Is that when you're in trouble?
Yeah.
Paul?
I think so. Yeah.
So what do you got next? Like what do you have planned in the not so distant future? Anything coming down the line?
Yeah, I've got another song that's half written. The music's written. I'm just working on the lyrics at the moment. I got to work out whether I'm kind of in two minds about whether to do it all myself or do it as a collab with like a female vocalist. Could kind of make a good duet in a way. So I'm working on that. That's the next one. After that, I've got because I do songs and I do instrumentals as well. I've had an instrumental tune that I've been sitting on for quite a few years now. So I've decided I'm gonna do that one. I'll do another song, and then I've got an instrumental track to work on after that. So that's my next 2 planned. Yeah. So always got more to come. Always more to look forward to.
Cool. So, as is becoming tradition very rapidly, before we let you go, we have to do something that is Wilko's brainchild called the NAS Quickfire 5. Are you up for the challenge?
Ooh. Oh, I've seen these. These are hard questions, hard ones to answer. Can I? Anyway, yeah, am I up to it? Oh, I don't know. We're going to find out, aren't we?
It's going to be a lot like reading music for the first time and having to play it live.
Yeah, a little Bamba coming back to bite me on the ass.
So, Wilko, tell him what he's getting himself into.
Yeah, so you've got no more than 15 seconds, and we're very, very strict on this. So no more than 15 seconds to give each answer. It's not going to be easy, mate, but you're going to have to nail your colours to the mast. There's no sitting on the fence with the Quickfire 5.
I will do my best, Paul.
Other than yourself, who is your favorite NAS artist?
Other than myself, I really like Marble Waves.
Good answer, straight in there, no messing about. So question 2, what is your favourite song of all time?
Hey Jude.
Good, okay. The person you'd most like to work with?
Within NAS or outside of NAS?
Either.
Tommy Emmanuel, the Australian guitar player.
Nice. Number 4, what is your favourite album of all time?
Oh, God, that's a hard one to answer. I would probably today go for Abbey Road, the Beatles.
If you could spend a day with any other NAS artist, who would you pick?
I'm going to bend the rules a little bit here. I'm going to name a couple. I'd like to hang out with Ed. I like his songwriting and his voice. I'd like to spend time with Charles Connolly for his production, innovation and vision. JHM, Jeff, for his songwriting.
And that's about all the time you got. So we'll get the anybody else who doesn't like you as much as JHM, Charles Connolly, or Ed Eagle. It's
and for the third week in a row.
Andres. You said it all now. No, 15 seconds is up. He's missed out on his hat
for his musicianship. Look, there's too many guys. I don't want to play favourites. Yeah, immediately alienate 500 other people.
No, you don't worry about that.
That's what makes it fun. You got to
everyone's about their favourites. Yeah.
There's so many talented people. There's so many talented people.
NAS. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Gavin. It's been nice to get the opportunity to talk like this and go into some detail about your music. I feel like I've learned a lot and understand a lot better about the man behind the music. So, it's been a pleasure to meet you. And if you just tell everybody listening where they can find you on your socials, your website, etc.
Yeah, I don't have a website actually, but socials are just my name, Gavan Waldby. You just got to spell it right, GAVAN WALDBY. Not the best showbiz name in the world, but I'm sticking with it. So same at so that Instagram, Twitter, they're all the same, just under my name. And thank you guys. It's been a real blast today. Thank you, Wilko, and thank you, Origin. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed this experience. It's been a great conversation. We just want to take the time to thank everybody who's listening at home, the whole NAS Spotlight community, everybody, all of our partners, everybody that supports and watches us every week. We'll see you next time. Peace out.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.